Right now, while most people are scrolling TikTok, Amish families in Ohio and Pennsylvania are quietly stockpiling 10 dirt cheap items, all under $5. And honestly, if weird winter 2025 hits like NOAA's forecasting, these could be worth their weight in gold, or better yet, barter currency. In this video, I'm revealing the exact 10 overlooked, ultra-affordable survival items the Amish are hoarding and how you can grab them before shelves go empty. By the end, you'll know not just what to buy, but why, where, and how to use them when the grid goes dark. Hey, I'm Zach, and yeah, I've been prepping since 2014. I live in the Midwest, so I've seen my fair share of ice storms, blackouts, and that brutal deep freeze back in 2019 that left us without power for 6 days. But here's what's different now. Winter isn't just colder, it's weirder, unpredictable. And with supply chains still shaky, waiting until the last minute is a recipe for empty shelves and $20 candles. So today, we're diving into 10 lesser-known, budget-friendly items, most under $5, that are perfect for stockpiling, surviving, and trading. And no, this isn't your typical buy rice and beans advice. These are the quiet, clever, Amish-style essentials most preppers overlook until it's too late. Item 1. Bic lighters. And honestly, if you're only going to stock one fire-starting tool, this should be it. These little red and blue guys, they're the unsung heroes of winter prep, especially when things go sideways. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to make fire reliably in any condition is non-negotiable. Fire isn't just about warmth. It's how you cook your food, boil unsafe water, signal for help, and yeah, even keep your spirits up when you've been stuck in the dark for 3 days straight. I saw this play out firsthand after the January 2024 blizzard. My neighbor, guy's got a wood stove, knows his stuff, traded 2 Bic lighters for a full can of beef stew. Not because he was desperate, but because the other guy had matches that got soaked and his ferro rod just wouldn't spark in the wind. Meanwhile, that Bic, click, flame, every single time. That's the difference between eating cold beans or a hot meal, and in a crisis, that's huge. You can pick these up at Walmart, Dollar General, or Amazon, and here's the best part. A 48-pack on Amazon runs you about $12, which breaks down to just 25 cents per lighter. If you're on a tight budget, even grabbing a 5-pack at Dollar General for $2 or $3 is totally worth it. Honestly, that's one of the best bang-for-buck survival moves you can make. Now sure, some folks swear by Zippos, but let's be real. For barter or bulk stockpiling, they're overkill. You're looking at $20 plus for one Zippo, plus fuel, plus maintenance. With Bics, you get hundreds of lights, zero fuss, and they're lightweight enough to stash everywhere, in your glove box, bug-out bag, coat pocket. A couple of quick pro tips from my own prep routine. First, always test one lighter from each new pack. I've bought bulk before and found whole batches that were duds, either no fuel or faulty flints. Better to catch that now than during an emergency. Second, and this one blew my mind when I heard it from Amish traders in Lancaster, freeze your lighters for 24 hours before long-term storage. Sounds weird, right? But here's the science. The cold makes the butane contract, which seals tiny micro-leaks in the valve. That means your lighters last way longer in storage. I've been doing this for years now, and my stockpile still lights strong after 18 months. Oh, and store them in an airtight container with a silica gel packet. Moisture is the silent killer of disposable lighters. Even a little humidity can gum up the works over time. But fire is only half the battle, because if you can't see in the dark, you're stuck. Which brings us to Item 2, 35mm film canisters. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, film in 2025? But hear me out, because these little black or gray plastic cylinders are incredibly useful, and honestly one of the smartest free or nearly free survival hacks I've picked up from Amish preppers. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to keep small, critical things completely dry and sealed is way more important than most people realize. Think about it. You've got fire tinder, emergency meds, seeds for barter, or even spare cash or a micro SD card with survival docs. If those get wet, they're useless. I learned this trick from an Amish friend in Holmes County. He uses these canisters to store herbal tinctures and fire-starting materials year-round. And during that brutal week-long outage after the January 2024 blizzard, while everyone else's cotton ball soaked up basement humidity and turned into soggy lint, his tinder stayed bone dry because it was locked inside one of these airtight film canisters. That's the difference between starting a fire in 10 seconds or shivering all night. What makes this so valuable is how versatile they are. They're waterproof, crush-resistant, and seal shut with a simple twist. Plus, they're small enough to fit in your pocket, but roomy enough for matches, pills, fishing hooks, or even a rolled-up $20 bill. And because they stack like Legos, you can pack a ton into a tiny space. Super important if you're bugging out or bartering on the go. You can pick these up at local photo labs, just ask. A lot of places still have boxes of them sitting around, and they'll often give them to you for free. If you don't have a lab nearby, check eBay or FreeCycle. I've seen lots of 10 for $1 or less, and sometimes they're literally free if someone's cleaning out their attic. Now sure, you could use old prescription pill bottles, but they're bulkier, don't stack well, and the caps don't seal as tightly. These film canisters, they've got that little O-ring groove built in. It's a tiny detail, but it makes them way more reliable for long-term storage. In my experience, I keep about 2 dozen of these in my main prep bin, labeled with a permanent marker so I know what's inside. Trust me, they all look the same after a while. One says tinder, another iodine pills, another barter seeds. Simple, but it works. Pro tip, drill a tiny hole in the side, slip a key ring through it, and boom, you've got a waterproof key fob that can hold emergency cash, a USB drive, or even a spare house key. I've got one on my actual keychain right now. It saved me more than once when I needed to pull up a digital map or access a backup password offline. Now this next one, it's so cheap, most people throw it away. Item 3, used coffee cans, cleaned. Used coffee cans, and no, I'm not joking. Those empty metal cans from Folgers or Maxwell House, they're absolute gold for winter prep. And the best part is, you're probably tossing them in the recycling right now. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to cook, store, or even heat a small space without electricity is critical when the grid goes down. You need a way to boil water, melt snow, or stash emergency supplies, and a clean coffee can does all of that for $0. I learned this during the 2019 Midwest deep freeze. Power was out for 6 days, and by day 3, I turned an old coffee can into a mini hobo stove using twigs and tea lights. Boiled water in under 15 minutes. Meanwhile, my neighbor was trying to heat soup in a flimsy plastic container. Big mistake. Metal holds heat, doesn't melt, and won't leach chemicals. What makes this so valuable is how tough and multi-use these cans are. Amish families I've talked to use them to store lard, nails, sewing kits, even barter tobacco or dried herbs. They're rust-resistant, stackable, and the plastic lids? Perfect for keeping moisture out. You can literally get these for free. Just save your own or ask neighbors, churches, or local diners. Some places go through dozens a week. If you do buy new, a basic 11-ounce metal can at Walmart runs about $3 to $4 with coffee inside. But why pay when you can repurpose? Before you use one, though, rinse it out really well, peel off the paper label, and sand down any sharp edges on the rim. I keep a little file in my garage just for this. Once prepped, it's ready for cooking, storage, or even as a makeshift toilet in a pinch. Line it with a trash bag. Pro tip, never store gasoline or kerosene in them long term. The residual oils can react with old coffee residue and create fumes. Stick to dry goods, water, or food-safe uses only. Now this next one, it's something you've probably got in your junk drawer right now, but in Weird Winter 2025, it could be worth more than cash. Item 4, Beeswax tea light candles, bulk. Beeswax tea light candles, and trust me, this isn't your average ambiance candle. These little guys are legit survival tools, especially when weird winter 2025 hits and you're stuck in the dark for days on end. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to generate safe, long-lasting heat and light without electricity is super important, not just for cooking or staying warm, but for keeping your head straight when everything feels chaotic. Fire equals comfort. And beeswax, it's the cleanest, longest-burning option out there. Unlike cheap paraffin candles that drip black soot and smell like chemicals, beeswax burns clean, emits negative ions which actually help to purify the air, and lasts way longer, 4 to 6 hours per tea light, sometimes more. I've used them to warm a small tent, dry out damp socks, and even gently heat a mason jar of soup during a power outage last winter. Amish families rely on them year-round, not just for light, but for tasks like warming baby bottles or softening beeswax wraps. You can pick these up at Azure Standard if you got a drop point nearby, Amish bulk stores, or on Amazon. A 100-pack of plain beeswax tea lights typically runs you about $20, which breaks down to just 20 cents each. If you're on a tight budget, even grabbing a 24-pack, $5 to $6 at a local health food store is a solid start. Honestly, that's a really good deal for something that can literally keep you alive. One thing to watch out for, make sure it says 100% beeswax. Some brands mix in paraffin or soy to cut costs, and those won't burn as cleanly or last as long. Read the label. In my prep setup, I store them in a sealed plastic bin with a silica pack. Moisture doesn't ruin them, but dust and bugs can. And here's a pro hack I learned from an off-grid friend. Place 3 tea lights in an empty coffee can, yep, from the last item, set a wire cooling rack on top, and you've got a mini oven that can warm food or dry herbs. It's low-tech, silent, and uses stuff you already have. Now don't expect to heat your whole house with these, but for a single room, a sleeping bag, or emergency cooking, they're incredibly useful. Plus, they're quiet, scent-free, unless you get the honey-scented ones, still natural, and perfect for barter. After the 2024 blizzard, I heard stories of people trading 2 tea lights for a pack of batteries. Speaking of light, if you can't see what you're doing in the dark, even the best fire won't help much. So let's talk about what comes next. Item 5. 100% wool socks, thrifted or discount. Next up is 100% wool socks, and no, your regular winter socks don't count. I'm talking thick, itch-free, real wool, the kind that keeps your feet warm even when they're soaked, smells way less than synthetics, and honestly, could save your toes, or even your life. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to maintain core body heat starts from the ground up. You lose a ton of warmth through your feet. And if they're wet and cold for too long, you're not just uncomfortable, you're at serious risk of frostbite or hypothermia. Cotton socks? They absorb moisture and stay wet. Synthetics dry fast, but they offer almost no insulation when damp. Wool? It wicks moisture away, traps heat, and keeps working even when wet. I learned this the hard way during the January 2024 blizzard. My truck slid into a ditch, and I spent 11 hours waiting for help in sub-zero temps. My feet got soaked from snowmelt, but because I was wearing merino wool socks, I stayed warm enough to keep moving. My buddy wore cotton blend. He couldn't feel his toes for 2 days. What makes wool socks so valuable isn't just survival, it's barter. Amish families and serious preppers know this. A clean pair of quality wool socks is like gold in a long-term outage. People will trade food, fuel, even tools for them, especially if they've got kids. You can pick these up at Goodwill, Salvation Army, or thrift stores for $1 to $3 a pair. Just check the label for 100% wool or merino wool. Avoid anything with more than 10% acrylic or polyester. It defeats the purpose. If you're buying new, Sierra or REI often have sale bins with name brand wool socks for $5 to $7, but for stockpiling, thrift is your best friend. Honestly, $2 for life-saving foot protection is a no-brainer. In my house, we keep a dedicated bin of 20-plus pairs, rotated seasonally and stored in vacuum bags to keep moths out. Pro tip, toss in a couple of cedar blocks or dried lavender sachets, natural moth deterrents that won't stink up your socks. Now, one warning, never wear cotton socks in winter emergencies. Seriously, they look cozy, but they're a fast track to cold injuries. And don't skip the liner sock trick. Thin wool liner plus thick outer sock equals max warmth and blister prevention. Now, staying warm is one thing, but if you can't drink safe water, none of it matters. So let's talk about the tiny tablet that turns sketchy water into something you can actually swallow. Item 6. Water purification tablets. Chlorine dioxide generic potable aqua style. Next up is water purification tablets, specifically generic potable aqua style chlorine dioxide tabs. And if you think you're covered with just a filter or boiling, think again. Because when pipes freeze, wells fail, or you're melting snow that's been sitting near road runoff, you need a backup that's lightweight, cheap, and actually works. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to make any water source safe to drink, fast and without fire, is absolutely critical. Boiling takes fuel and time. Filters clog or freeze. But a tiny tablet? Drop it in, wait 30 minutes, and you've got clean, bacteria-free water. This is huge because dehydration sneaks up on you fast in cold weather. You don't feel sweaty, so you don't realize you're losing fluids. And drinking untreated water from a ditch or puddle? That's how you end up with giardia or worse, stuck on the couch while the world's falling apart. I've used these for years during winter camping and grid-down drills, and they've never let me down. After the 2024 blizzard, a friend of mine had to pull water from a melted snow pile near his barn, full of animal runoff. 2 tablets later, safe to drink. Amish families keep them in every wagon, root cellar, and emergency kit, not because they distrust their wells, but because they know stuff happens. You can pick these up at Walmart, usually near the camping section, REI, or on Amazon. A 100-tablet bottle typically runs you about $12, which breaks down to just 12 cents per liter of purified water. If you're on a tight budget, even a 50-count bottle for $7 to $8 is a solid start. Honestly, that's one of the cheapest insurance policies you can buy for your health. Now, some folks say just use bleach. And yeah, 8 drops of unscented household bleach per gallon can work. But it's messy, hard to measure in the dark, and not exactly barter-friendly. Tablets, pre-measured, portable, and easy to trade one by one. Pro tip, always pre-filter murky water through a bandana or coffee filter before adding the tablet. It works way better on clearer water, and you'll avoid that weird chemical taste. Also, store them in a cool, dry place. Their shelf life is 4 to 5 years, but heat and humidity kill them fast. One thing to watch out for, don't confuse iodine tablets with chlorine dioxide. Iodine doesn't kill crypto, and it's not safe for pregnant folks or long-term use. Stick with chlorine dioxide. It's safer, more effective, and what most serious preppers and the military actually use. But clean water won't help you if you've got nothing to carry it in, which brings us to something you probably already have in your recycling bin. Empty 2-liter soda bottles. Next up is empty 2-liter soda bottles. And yeah, I know it sounds too simple to be serious, but hear me out, because in a weird winter 2025 scenario, these free, lightweight, nearly indestructible containers might be the most underrated survival tool in your house. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to store, transport, and even freeze water safely is super important when your pipes are frozen or your well pump is dead. Most people grab milk jugs, but those crack in the cold. Plastic water jugs get brittle. A 2-liter soda bottle? Made from thicker, more flexible PET plastic that expands with ice instead of shattering. I've had bottles freeze solid in my garage at minus 10 degrees F and not a single one split. You need a way to stockpile water without spending a fortune, and these cost nothing. Just rinse them out, peel off the label, and you've got a food-grade, leak-proof container that holds exactly 2 liters, about half a gallon. Amish families I've talked to use them for everything, storing vinegar, lamp oil, dried beans, even emergency fuel for lanterns. And during outages, they fill them with hot water, screw on the cap, and tuck them into sleeping bags for radiant heat. You can literally get these from your own recycling bin, or ask neighbors, local restaurants, or school cafeterias. They go through dozens a day. No need to buy anything. If you do want to prep ahead, just drink a few sodas, or better yet, buy store-brand club soda. It's cheaper and comes in the same bottles. Before you fill them for storage, give them a good wash with soapy water and let them air dry completely. Then fill them only about 90% full. Water expands when it freezes, and you need that little air gap to prevent pressure cracks. Cap it tight, and they'll stay good for months. I keep 12 of them filled and stacked in my basement. Takes up less space than a laundry basket. Pro tip, cut the top third off, flip it upside down, and slide it into the bottom. It becomes a perfect funnel for pouring fuel, filling filters, or even a makeshift scoop for grain or pet food. And if you're bugging out, they nest inside each other when empty, saving serious space. One warning, don't store gasoline or kerosene in them long term. While they can hold fuel in a pinch, the plastic can degrade over time and isn't rated for hydrocarbons like proper fuel cans are. Stick to water, food, or non-flammable liquids. Now, clean water and smart storage are great, but if your clothes rip, your gear fails, or you need to rig a shelter, you'll need something small, cheap, and incredibly versatile. And that's where this next item comes in. Item 7. Safety pins, bulk, assorted sizes. Safety pins, bulk, assorted sizes, and don't roll your eyes just yet. These tiny pieces of bent metal are one of the most overlooked, multi-use survival tools you can stockpile for pennies. Seriously, in a weird winter 2025 crisis, a handful of safety pins could be the difference between freezing, bleeding, or being totally stranded. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to repair, secure, and improvise on the fly is critically important when you can't run to the store. Your jacket zipper breaks? Pin it shut. Pants tear in the wind? Patch it in seconds. Need a deep cut and no bandages? Use a safety pin to close a wound temporarily or secure a pressure dressing. I've used them for everything, from rigging a tarp shelter during an ice storm to pinning diapers for my nephew when we ran out during a week-long outage. And get this, Amish seamstresses I've talked to keep them in every work basket and trade them by the dozen in winter. Why? Because when you're living without zippers, Velcro, or disposable fasteners, pins are currency. You can pick these up at Dollar Tree. They sell 100-count assorted packs for $1, Walmart in the sewing or craft aisle, or even thrift stores in old sewing kits. A basic bulk pack typically runs you $1 to $2 for 100-plus pins, which breaks down to less than a penny each. If you're on a tight budget, even grabbing a small pack for 50 cents is worth it. Honestly, that's one of the highest ROI preps you'll ever make. In my bug-out bag and home kit, I keep about 50 pins stored in, a 35mm film canister from item 2. It keeps them dry, organized, and rattle-free. I sort them by size, small for fabric and medical, large for tarps and gear. Pro tip, magnetize your pins by rubbing them on a strong magnet a few times. Then stick them to a metal strip or the side of your ammo can. They're instantly accessible and won't get lost in your kit. Also, never underestimate the fishing potential. Bend the point slightly, tie on some thread, add a worm, and you've got a survival hook. One thing to watch out for. Cheap pins can rust or snap. If you can, go for stainless steel or nickel-plated. They last way longer in humid or wet conditions. But if you do get injured, and let's be real, winter slips and falls are no joke, you'll need more than a pin to stop serious bleeding. So let's talk about the stretchy, self-sticking wrap that's a game changer for sprains, strains, or even emergency tourniquets. Item 9, Vet Wrap, Cohesive Bandage. Vet Wrap, that stretchy, self-adhering bandage you've probably seen on horses' legs. And yeah, it's made for animals, but in a survival situation, it's one of the most versatile medical and utility tools you can stockpile for under $5. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to stabilize injuries, secure gear, or create waterproof seals without tape or clips is incredibly useful, especially when every second counts. Vet wrap sticks to itself, not your skin or fur, so it won't rip hair or leave sticky residue. It's stretchy, breathable, waterproof, and holds tension like a pro. You need a way to handle sprains, strains, or even deep cuts when you can't get to a hospital, and Vet Wrap delivers. I used it on my cousin after he twisted his ankle snowmobiling during the 2024 blizzard. We wrapped it tight over a folded bandana for compression, and he was able to walk a mile back to the cabin without swelling getting worse. Amish families keep rolls in their buggies and barns, not just for livestock, but for people, because when you're off-grid, you treat what you've got with what you've got. What makes this so valuable is how many non-medical uses it has too. Need to seal a leak in your water container? Wrap it. Broken eyeglass arm? Temporarily splint it. Securing a tarp in high wind? Way stronger than duct tape in cold temps. It even works as an emergency tourniquet when layered tightly, though that's a last resort. You can pick this up at Tractor Supply Company, Chewy, or on Amazon. A standard 4-inch by 11-yard roll typically runs you $3 to $5, and one roll lasts years if you're smart with it. If you're on a tight budget, even grabbing a small pack for 50 cents is worth it. Honestly, that's one of the highest ROI preps you'll ever make. In my main first aid kit, I keep 2 rolls, one full size, one cut into 2-inch strips and rolled individually. Why? Because I can barter single strips or use just what I need without wasting the whole roll. Pro tip, don't stretch it more than 50% when applying. Overstretching reduces its stickiness and can cut off circulation. And never use it directly over open wounds. Always put gauze or a clean cloth underneath first. One thing to watch out for, heat and sunlight degrade it over time. Store it in a cool, dark place, like inside a metal tin or your main medical pouch. But here's the thing, none of this matters if morale crashes, and in a long winter outage, few things lift spirits like the smell of fresh bread. Which brings us to the number 1 item Amish preppers are quietly hoarding in bulk. Item 10, instant dry yeast, vacuum-sealed packets. And this might surprise you, is instant dry yeast vacuum-sealed in those little foil packets. Yeah, the stuff you use to make bread, it's not just for baking. In a weird winter 2025 scenario, this humble pantry staple becomes a triple threat: food, water aid, and serious barter gold. Here's why this matters. Having the ability to bake fresh, morale-boosting food from shelf-stable ingredients is way more powerful than you think. When you've been eating cold beans and granola bars for days, a warm loaf of bread isn't just comfort, it's hope. And yeast makes that possible with just flour, water, salt, and time. But here's the secret most people don't know. Yeast consumes sugar and produces carbon dioxide, and in the process, it actually helps suppress harmful bacteria in water. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a full water purifier like tablets or filters, but in a pinch, adding a pinch of yeast to questionable water can help reduce microbial load while you wait for a better solution. Amish bakers I've spoken with use it this way during spring thaws when well water gets sketchy. What makes this so valuable is how lightweight, cheap, and tradable it is. A single packet can leaven multiple loaves over time if you make a sourdough starter. And in a community where fresh bread equals normalcy, a pack of yeast can trade for eggs, firewood, or even hand-sewn socks. You can pick this up at Sam's Club, Costco, or Azure Standard in 100-packet bulk packs. Those typically run you $20 to $25, which breaks down to just 20 to 25 cents per packet. If you're on a tight budget, even a 3-pack at Walmart for $1.50 is worth grabbing. Just make sure it says instant dry yeast, not active dry yeast. Instant has a longer shelf life and doesn't need proofing. In my pantry, I store yeast in a vacuum-sealed Mylar bag inside a cool, dark bin, and I've tested it after 18 months, still rises strong. Pro tip, freeze it for long-term storage. Cold dramatically slows degradation, and it'll last 10+ years that way. One warning, Don't confuse baking yeast with nutritional yeast. That's a different product entirely. Great for flavor, useless for rising. Always check the label. And remember, yeast needs warmth to activate. In a cold house, place your dough near a tea light candle, item 4, or in an insulated cooler with a hot water bottle. Now, this might seem small, but in a world where routine disappears, the smell of bread baking says, we're still okay, and that's priceless. But before we wrap up, I've got a few lightning-fast bonus items you won't want to miss. All right, you made it to the end, so here's your reward. Rapid-fire bonus items, all under $5, all incredibly useful, and all things you can grab this weekend. Number 1, rubber dishwashing gloves. Yeah, the yellow ones from Dollar Tree for $1. Don't laugh. These protect your hands from frostbite when handling snow, keep you safe when dealing with waste or chemicals, and they're waterproof. I've used them to change a frozen car battery in -5 degrees F. Game changer. Number 2, clothespins. A pack of 100 for $2 at any hardware or dollar store. Use them to hang wet socks indoors, seal open food bags, mark trails in the woods, or even hold bandages in place. Lightweight, silent, and always handy. Number 3, aluminum foil. A giant roll for $2 at Walmart. You can cook with it, wrap it around a branch to signal rescuers, line your hat for heat retention, or patch a hole in your gear. Pro move, crumple a ball, soak it in petroleum jelly. It's a waterproof fire starter that burns for 10 minutes. Number 5, dental floss. A standard pack for $1. Stronger than thread, thinner than rope. Use it for emergency sutures, sterilize it first, set small snares, sew a torn jacket, or even as fishing line. The waxed kind lasts longer in moisture. And number 5, crayons. A 24-pack for 50 cents at Dollar Tree. They're waterproof, burn for 10 to 15 minutes each, and double as kid morale boosters during a scary outage. Families will trade for these because keeping kids calm is half the battle. Boom, 5 more for your list. All cheap, all practical, all ready to stash today. Look, prepping for weird winter 2025 isn't about panic. It's about practical foresight. And as you just saw, some of the most powerful tools in your survival kit aren't expensive, high-tech, or hard to find. They're cheap, quiet, and often hiding in plain sight or in your recycling bin. So drop a comment below and tell me which one of these are you grabbing first? The film canisters? The yeast? The tea lights? I read every single comment, and I love hearing how you're getting ready. If this video helped you, even a little, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button. It tells YouTube this kind of practical, no-hype prep matters, and it helps more people like you find it. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because every week I break down real, budget-friendly strategies that actually work in the real world. No fear-mongering, just smart, tested prep for regular people. Oh, and check out this video next where I show you step-by-step how to turn a $3 coffee can and a few tea lights into a life-saving wood stove that boils water in 12 minutes. Stay ready, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next one.